Welcome to the No to Picks podcast. I'm Christina,
I'm Max.
and we have Biana here as well. So welcome back. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us again.
Thanks for having me back. It's a
Of
lot of fun.
course. I figured we'll just do the intro with you because we have a
Yeah.
lot to do this episode. But we're repeating a segment. We're calling it Date Therapy.
Yeah.
And you've graciously come back to join us to answer some questions and help some people out.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be back.
Yeah. So what's new with you?
Not a whole lot. A lot of working. That's about it. Working, trying to be social whenever I can,
Mhm.
visiting the kids at the University of Iowa. That's always fun. And that's about it. I've,
Cool.
paused on dating myself a little bit.
Mhm.
Go down there.
Do you have any new stories
um,
that you're willing to share?
Well, do I want to share this one? Sure, I will. I will
If you change
share
your mind, I'll cut it.
this. Well, so I dated somebody in law enforcement. I kind of talked to him a while back, but I was in the city and he is in the city. The first time I met him, I was out with friends and I mentioned that we were out and he just showed up there to say hello. So that was,
Surprise.
yeah, that was fun. But recently, um, so he had reached back out and we were kind of talking. And then I had somebody over for dinner and I was making dinner and I get a text and it said, "Are you entertaining other dudes?" And I was like, "What? What? What?" And I'm like, how do you know that? Like, what is going on right now? So, so that was my most recent kind of story. It's a question mark. Um, I don't know.
Was he just driving by, you think, or?
Well, my house is set back and I live at the end of a cul-de-sac. So he would have to purposely,
Oh.
yes, he would have to purposely drive and park in the cul-de-sac and you could probably see through the trees with maybe binoculars. I don't know, honestly. I mean, like,
Oh.
I have a lot of windows in my house. So, like, if I was cooking in the kitchen, you could see me cooking.
Mm-hmm.
But I I was like, I really don't know what to make of this. So that was kind of interesting. So yeah, that's that's my most interesting quote unquote dating story.
Yeah.
I'm sensing he's a jealous type.
I'm not really, because once again, we were not, really even an item. So, we were just talking. So I'm not sure.
That's a lot for just not even like.
Yes, it is a lot. So I'm not sure if, he just does surveillance for fun or what the situation there really is. But
It's
yeah.
a little scary.
Yeah.
Hopefully your phone's not.
I don't know. I mean, I really should take that more seriously than I do. I'm just like, yeah, okay. I don't know. Something is definitely curious about that situation. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, honestly.
I'm having headphone issues, so sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. But, I mean, I don't, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm in danger or anything.
That's good.
Maybe he
Yeah.
was bored. I don't know. It's strange.
What's Biana up to?
Maybe.
Drive by.
I don't know.
Who's this guy?
I'm like, I was laughing with my friends. I'm like, is he in the bushes outside? Like, where is he?
Right.
What's going on?
It's like the creepy story that Amber told us.
Oh yeah, about the
Yeah.
guy who saran wrapped her apartment.
Well, that's next level. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like it's one thing to have somebody, that is, and I mean, I'm sure they have, a propensity for, um, what do you call that? Surveillance.
Mhm.
But I mean,
Yeah.
but and maybe they do it for shits and giggles part time. I don't know, but that is, on the other side of things. I mean, that person sounded very dangerous.
Oh yeah. Um I still can't find anything on it. I need to look again.
Yeah, that was a
But
wild story. I mean, very
mhm.
scary. That uh, I mean, thank goodness she locked herself in her room.
Yeah, and that she didn't open the door cuz I think at some point I might have been like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah,
And she didn't. So,
yeah,
it's
that's very
bananas.
scary. I mean, that person, who knows what they would have done.
Right.
It's like
Yeah,
a what's the movie is American Psycho? What's the
yeah.
one with Batman?
Mhm. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you have to be careful. There
You
are,
do.
I mean, obviously some people out there that are unwell. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Let's get into some questions.
Sure.
So, I have a question from Jared. He sent
Okay.
us a voice memo.
Ooh, very high tech.
I know I'm holding my phone up to a microphone. Hang on, I'm new here. All right.
My question is, how soon should you get back onto the dating apps after a breakup? Obviously, you need some time to heal, but at the same point in time, I'm curious from a female's perspective, what is too soon? If somebody broke up with somebody a week ago versus 2 weeks, do they have to wait
Like
a
an
month?
hour.
At what point does a woman say, whoa, that's pretty quick that they're back onto the dating apps?
Max, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, that one hits
2 days
home.
before we even break
Uh,
up. How
that
about
hits home.
I didn't even put that together until as I was playing it and you start smiling. I'm like, "Wait, hang on. That's the 3 of
Hey,
us?"
one in Rome.
I was like, yesterday? What is going on?
Yeah,
So
that's
I think,
funny.
it depends really. I mean, yes, if you were in a relationship yesterday and you hop on the dating apps, obviously somebody's going to be like, yeah, I don't know that
Mhm.
this is a good idea for anyone.
Was
But
that what turned the tables for you with Max?
Yes, yes, for sure. And hearing the breakup episode. I mean, we were just chatting. It was like
Right.
Yeah.
a friendly exchange. It wasn't anything really romantic, anyway. But like after that, um, and then we were just like talking about that and the podcast and the breakup. And then I heard the breakup, and I was like, Max, no one is going to date you after listening to that. What are you doing? What are you actually doing? So, I mean, that's kind of how it was. But I'm glad that, I don't know, it's such a weird thing to have happen, but
Right.
I'm happy for it because here we
Me
are.
too.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't have met you. And like, I'm like, well,
Yeah. Well, and that was the other thing too. I'm like, what is wrong with you? She's great. Everybody's gonna love her when they listen to that, and they're gonna be like, what is wrong with you? So that
that's
was,
awesome.
well, yeah.
This is
But
why we're keeping her.
yeah, that's how it happened. But I think
Yeah.
as a rule, it depends on the relationship
Mhm.
that you had. And I was thinking about this too. I think maybe as a general rule, like 1 week per month that you were dating somebody is probably a good rule of thumb, just
Mhm.
so that you can reflect on, you know, what you learned about yourself from the relationship. Because with each relationship, somebody's going to bring out different parts of you.
Right.
And so, if you had someone, let's say, that was, anxious, then, and you responded to this with anger, then you know that someone that's anxious is maybe not the best match for you, or perhaps you have to work on your reactive tendencies towards somebody with more of an anxious attachment style. So you will learn about yourself with each person that you date, and that takes a minute to process. And if you jump right back into something, you're going to bring that baggage and unresolved. You're not even going to realize what happened. You're just going to, and that's really what you're trying to do. You're trying to just put a band aid on it by introducing someone else that doesn't know what maybe your issues are, or what your, challenges are in a relationship. Each person is going to come to each relationship with their own set of issues. And then together, that relationship will have a unique set of maybe challenges that you need to work through. So maybe perhaps 1 week per month is a good rule of thumb. And as importantly as the time spent, I think, is reflecting on what you learned about yourself and what you need, how you respond to people in different situations. But most definitely, different people will bring out different parts of you. So knowing what, works for you and what doesn't work for you.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, from my perspective, I would say if I met someone who was like, I broke up with my girlfriend yesterday, I'd be like, okay, I'd be like, talk to
Why?
me.
No reason.
Yeah.
No
That's
reason at all.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just want to see what else is happening out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if I met someone who just broke up, I'd be like, that would be a red flag for me. That'd be
Yeah.
let's talk in like a month,
Well, yeah, you don't want to be a rebound, because
Right,
a lot of
exactly.
people will jump into something just to feel like they have options, or
Right.
to not feel lonely, or to feel like they are moving on from the previous relationship. But to be your best for someone and for yourself in a new relationship, you need to take the time to process that, and evaluate what worked for you, what didn't work, so that you
Mhm.
can recognize it next time around.
Well, because I think when I met Max, that was a rebound. That was like absolutely like I had just gotten dumped, and I'm like, I'm jumping on apps. Like, fuck that guy. I'm gonna jump on apps. I didn't expect to meet anyone. I honestly thought he was gonna come back and be like, let's try to fix this, and I'd be like, okay. Um, I didn't expect to meet Max. And so I didn't expect to have that 7-hour conversation with him and all that. And I was like, wait, okay, this is not what I was expecting. It was like at the time a way to distract myself
But was
from
it
the
how
way I
long
was feeling.
how long did you date
It
him?
wasn't long. It was like 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's not a rebound.
Yeah,
That's
but I mean, it was kind of weird. Like, he introduced her to the family. He love
hmm
bombed her. Like, I mean, a lot happened in
I
three
met his
weeks.
ex-wife.
There are a lot of men that will do that. But, if it happens, at neck breaking speed, usually it's hard to really process that, but it's not the same as having a quality relationship
Right.
for, 6 months, a year.
Yeah. And so even like when me and Max broke up, I went on that date like a week later. I
Yeah.
wasn't ready for that. Like I went in with an open mind, but I wasn't ready for it. Like he didn't really have a real chance. It wasn't going to work out. Let's be real. It
Yeah.
wasn't going to work out no matter what it was. But like I tell myself I like was open to it. I was trying to be present and
Yeah.
take it as an actual possibility. But like I wasn't ready. I knew for sure I wasn't ready, and that's why I got off apps afterwards. I was like, "No, this is not for me right now. I'm not ready for this." So,
Yeah.
because that was obviously a much different situation than the 3 week. Even though I
Yeah.
met his whole family and all that stuff, that was only 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's
Me
wild.
and Max were like, half the year at that point. So that was a little bit of a different, like, it was more to process than this
Yeah.
guy I've been hanging out with for a couple weeks.
Right.
You know?
Well, and I mean, I think, it is, it's difficult when you're hopeful
Hmm.
that, and especially after a divorce, a
Right.
lot of times, and I say this, particularly for men, men are quick to remarry a lot of times out of a divorce because they're used
Not
to
me.
Not him.
no, not you, but a lot of
Oh,
times they liked being married.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's just not the right person, or the relationship fails for a variety of reasons, but they did enjoy being married, and a
Right.
lot of times they will get remarried within 3, 4, 5 years.
Hmm.
That's not uncommon. I think a lot of people do that. And it's not necessarily wrong either, as because sometimes you are mourning the relationship in the relationship. So, especially longer relationships, it could be deteriorating for many years before the end. And by that time, it's kind of just a relief that that chapter's over and that you can move on. And I think a lot of times people will also try to work on it when it's too late.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so they've been done for a while. So in those cases, they've been processing this along the way, sometimes for years.
Hmm.
So in
That's
some
kind of
ways,
where I was at.
yeah, they are ready
Hmm.
for something new because they recognize what did not go wrong, what didn't go right in the marriage, or what wasn't working.
All right.
So
Well,
yeah, I think that's a good rule.
yeah.
1 week per month.
hmm.
So
Max is
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't do
Yeah.
that. Next day. 2 days before I even break up with her. Um,
I got in the time machine and went back in time.
sure. Um, so we have Tori joining us like any second now. I'm gonna go ahead and let her know that she can
okay,
join. This timing was perfect.
good.
I'm learning how to manage time. There she is.
Oh,
Hi.
Hi.
I was just
Sorry.
introducing you, so that was perfect. So hi, Tori. Welcome to the podcast. This is Max and Biana.
Hello, Tori.
Hello.
So Tori had a question for you.
Absolutely.
So,
Okay.
so I have ADHD and my brain is all over the place. I
Okay.
am in a new relationship after almost 5 years. Actually, it was official 5 years yesterday. Wow, time flies. Since my divorce.
Okay. So you've been single for 5 years?
Yes, I started dating my
Okay.
boyfriend about 6 months ago, and I my past marriage was really kind of emotionally and mentally traumatic. I'm still kind of carrying a lot of that with me. Um, trying to learn how to communicate my
Okay.
wants and my needs without I am stepping on toes like I had in the past, or without feeling like I'm asking too much.
Can you give me an example of that?
At 41, I have a very high sex drive, very,
Okay.
but my boyfriend not as much. And even when we're not fooling around or anything, we, which I know is important, and
Hmm.
the physical contact, even just cuddling on the couch watching a movie, is fantastic. But I still end up going home at the end of the night frustrated and annoyed, lack of extra, what I'm wanting, what I'm needing at the end of the night.
Have you had those conversations with him?
A little bit, a little bit, and he's like, I tell him, I'm like, I have a really high sex drive, and he's like, I've noticed, and I'm like, I'd really like to be having more sex, and it's still not exactly where I'd want it to be. I mean,
How did he respond when you said that to him?
he acknowledged that the past couple of weeks he's been extra tired and stressed with work.
But is it a thing that has just occurred the last couple of weeks, or is it
This is
something?
something that has kind of been ongoing.
Okay, so this is what I will tell you. And I've actually had clients that have come in for this exact reason. They have, you know, differing sex drives that has created conflict. And um, I think it's a matter of having the discussion. And a lot of times men won't tell you that I'm not interested in having sex as much as you are, because it makes them feel like um, there's something going on, or that's not the manly thing to say. But really,
Right. Yeah.
men can also not be interested in sex constantly.
And I probably
Yeah.
should have also prefaced this with the fact that I'm 41 and he is 53.
Mm.
Now, at the same time, this kind of goes into my second question.
Hmm.
There is another guy that I've had a previous situationship for an extended period of time.
I know a thing or two about those.
Yes. He's in the group.
Oh, was he?
He's not active. He's not active.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not sure what we're talking about, but I'm just going to roll with it.
We're in a single parents group together. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Amazing drama.
Amazing.
Okay.
but
So, are you currently having a sexual relationship with that person?
no.
Okay.
But he does have the potential to really make my head turn because he is also 53 years old and is a like a teenage boy in the gym locker room. And he is just ready anytime, anywhere. And it was amazing. The only thing that stopped us was the fact that he wasn't ready to kind of open his heart up, and I was. And I am getting that from my boyfriend, that open heart and everything. And it's kind of killing me because this other person is still trying to contact me, still trying to get me to come hang out.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess you have to ask yourself, what do you prioritize? The emotional connection or the sexual connection? If if Because it sounds like the guy that is always ready is going to be ready for that. He's not going to be ready for the other part. So it depends on where you're at. Don't ruin your current relationship over something that is strictly physical if that's not, all that you want. If you decide like, hey, I really rather just have the physical, okay.
And
um
for a while, it was okay. And after a while, we actually developed like this really good flow with each other where we had like good teamwork. We literally had everything except for the heart. There was all sorts of communication, but there was just no desire on his part to take that step and say, yes, this is a relationship. But we literally had everything else that goes with it, all of the teamwork, the communication, the partnership. It was fantastic, except for that one part. And with my boyfriend, I'm getting all of that. I'm getting the heart, I'm getting the communication, everything else, but I'm not getting the sex. Like they are literally the one thing that they each have that the other doesn't is opposite.
With each person, you're going to get a new set of issues. I mean, that's true. You know, you could shuffle the deck again and you'll get a different set of issues because no one person is going to be perfect, but you have to decide what is most important to you.
Can I ask a question? When you do have sex with your boyfriend, are you guys compatible in that way?
For the most part, there are things that he is not as enthusiastic to participate in as I would like him to be. He's in a band and he's the lead vocalist, and he truly believes, and I'm not entirely sure of the science behind this, but he actually thinks that it will affect his vocal cords and his voice. And
Wait, you knew what she was gonna say?
Yeah.
How?
Huh? I've heard this before.
Yeah.
Or certain nationalities don't like to go down south.
you know, my birthday was last month, okay? And
Happy belated birthday.
and I'm like, I want that for my birthday. And
As you should.
right? And you know something? He obliged. I'm not gonna begrudge him that. He obliged. But it was like this delicate teasing, like he was trying to avoid it.
Okay. I'm not a professional, so take this for what you will. That's a no for me. I'd be like,
It's
okay,
like,
Yeah. Do better.
do better.
and I just like,
Well, I'm not a sex therapist, but you know, if he doesn't like what you like, it just might not be compatible. I don't know.
right? I've been told before by previous partners that it's magical and is like honey and all this other stuff. I'm like,
That's so nice.
and
It's nice to hear.
I had one person tell me it was addicting.
Okay, so I mean, again, I'm not a professional, so take what I say for what you will. I feel like if you have a high sex drive, sex is an important part of a relationship to you, correct?
Yes, I feel like I feel so much more open with things when those needs are fully met. Like I feel more
Yeah.
emotionally open with.
Well, then that's your answer.
Yeah,
You know, that's
I
your answer.
agree.
I mean, and let me preface this by saying this is not official therapy. This is not official
And
therapy.
I got good on that. I have one of those.
Good, good. But yeah, I mean, if you know that this is important to you in that way, and that you other things will suffer as a result of you not getting those needs met, it sounds like inevitably it will fail anyway. It's just a matter of time. And it's interesting because what you're saying, some of the things you're saying, I've heard in session with people before where, oh, my exes, you know, did this and they were, you know, more enthusiastic about this. And you're not going to change someone.
I know. Like I told the other person just what was it? Monday night, because we've actually known each other for like 15 years. Our sons played baseball
Oh, okay.
together. He got divorced during the pandemic. I got divorced just before. So obviously we've had a lot in common over the years. So it is hard to, you know, let go of the friendship. And we were talking about all of this the other day, and I told him straight up, I'm like, all you had to do was open your heart to me. Literally, that was the only thing you had to do. And
It's like you really want that from him, but
I would
Is he willing?
honestly,
I mean,
I've kind of already resigned myself to where if he were to say that to me, I would probably drop my boyfriend in a heartbeat.
Yes.
That's your answer about your boyfriend right
Yeah,
now.
you just
And
you
it
just
just
you just
it
said it.
really pains me because I genuinely care about both of them, but I don't want a situationship. I want
Mhm.
something that is, you know, growing and healthy, and I've never had that before, and I know that my relationship with him is probably one of the healthiest I've ever had,
Mm.
with the exception of those couple of things. There's a lot of even compromise, and there is that communication, but it's communicating some of these needs and wants that I struggle with the most, mostly because of my husband always saying that my needs and wants were never important.
Well, let me ask you this, like, how big of a disconnect is there between you and your current boyfriend? I mean, is it, he is interested once a week and you want it daily, or, he's interested once every 6 months and you want it daily? I
Well,
mean, what is the discrepancy there?
okay, I would have to say I would I don't necessarily need one daily, but more than once a week.
Okay.
But on occasion with him, it's more like almost a week and a half, 2 weeks, and it is very frustrating.
So you're not really asking for that much more.
No, like we see each other twice a week, and sometimes we'll spend the night together, and there's nothing except
Mhm.
for the dogs climbing all over us.
Let me ask you this though. Is Do you initiate, or you're waiting for him to initiate? And if you do initiate, what happens?
I have initiated, and he's usually quite forthcoming in saying, I'm not really up for it tonight. I'm really tired, or something like that. Or if he says he's really
Okay.
stressed, I'll transition to just kind of, maybe rubbing his back or shoulders,
Okay.
just trying to keep that contact in place.
I mean, it's difficult because, the difference between once a week and once every week and a half, we're talking about 3 or 4 days. So is it that you're really that frustrated, or you're feeling rejected by him?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
So with the other person, if I spend the night over there, I can guarantee over the course of maybe the 8 hours that we're together, 3, 4 times.
Oh.
Christina.
Oh.
He's
Okay.
impressive for his age.
Hey.
Impressive. And definitely more my speed.
I'm like, I'm waiting for a situation.
I mean,
Again, I'm experiencing that.
okay, but a person's got to sleep, so I don't know.
3, 4 times. If you can't sleep after that, something's wrong.
Hour and a half of sleep, and then somehow we roll.
But I guess the question too is like, because outside of you could get sex from him or random people if if that was the only thing that was important to you. But I hear you saying that you want both things. You want emotional connection and intimacy.
Yeah.
And that 3 or 4 times that you're getting is going to fall short if you feel unloved, if you don't feel valued. So there is a happy medium there.
Yes.
Um,
And I feel that, if my boyfriend would just, we see each other twice a week, I think it's reasonable to say, hey, each time we see each other, we should be.
I mean, I agree.
And I don't necessarily know how to communicate that, because he's got his own stressors. Like I deal with stress with sex.
Have you tried just being upfront with him and being like, this is something that is important to me?
I did actually. I did. I
Okay.
got so frustrated when it went over 2 weeks at one point, and
I get
got
it.
mad at me after one of his shows one night because the bartender was just waiting for us to finish grabbing his stuff so she could lock up, and he was still talking to someone out in the parking lot that had come out to the show. I wasn't jealous or anything. I was tired. I wanted to get back because we had like an hour to get back to his place. And I also knew that the faster we got back, the better the chances that things would happen in my favor. And instead, I was like, babe, it's getting late. The bartender's waiting for us. And somehow that got him upset and he thought I was jealous. And I ended up going home after we got back to his place. But then,
I mean, ultimately, if there is a disconnect there, it is going to be more and more of a problem. So, if you can't match up in that way somehow, it's going to create conflict and resentment
I don't know, like
in the future.
It's gonna get worse and worse.
every
Yeah.
person that I have met that has matched me in the physical side has never been as available, whether emotionally or physically, as I would have liked them to be.
I think it's hard to find a guy who's available in that way, period. Like,
I just want
I don't know.
all.
Yeah. Oh, who doesn't? Who doesn't? I just think when it comes to your boyfriend, like Max, you can chime in here. I don't know, like if you're so ready to drop things if this other guy can't offer you everything, like how would you feel in that position, Max? Like if like you knew that about someone you were dating, that there would be like if this other person could offer me this one thing, you'd be out.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be tough to handle. But also, I think with your current boyfriend, I mean, it's an issue, and so I think you can kind of talk to him, but I think you really need to sit down and kind of like express it to tell him like this is like almost like a deal breaker and
Yeah.
see how he reacts.
How long have you
Because
two been dating?
6 months, you said,
6
right?
months, but I get
Okay,
because of my past with my ex-husband, I get so much anxiety when I am talking about how I'm feeling and what I'm wanting or needing because I spent 15, 16 years being told that what I wanted, what I needed didn't matter. What I was feeling didn't matter.
It does matter though.
yeah, and he should be able to understand that
And
too.
I mean, he
If
does
he
know that, but I have so much anxiety, and that's why I have my therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my perspective on this
Able
is
to be able to communicate these things. I can talk about these things with anybody, with strangers, best
Right.
friends, but with the person that I actually need to talk about these things with, I freeze up.
So my perspective on this is I'm also divorced. It was not an easy process. I, in my opinion, did not go through all of that to not have my needs met by another person or to have the same issues where I feel like I can't say how I feel or express what I need because I wasn't able to do that for a long time. So like
Yeah.
it's kind of like a don't settle thing. Like
Yeah.
don't settle for less than you want because you already did that. Do you want to do it again?
Yeah.
Did you go through all that just to do it again, you know?
It's so hard because it's like I've got between the two of them, they're the perfect guy for me. They
Just like take
Well,
the pieces
I mean
and
that
melt them
is
together.
this is not a therapist thing to say, but that is a potential solution. If you're dating 3 or 4 people
The dogs like it.
all together, they're going to create the perfect person.
Yeah. I
So maybe don't, maybe maybe, that type of relationship is not what you need right now. Maybe you do need to get your needs met from just dating.
Yeah.
I just know, like, I know that I am ready. Like, I myself, like, I've finally reached a point where I actually love myself enough to be able to be open to receiving love for the first time. And it took me a little while, but I also literally, my divorce was final right before the pandemic. And
Mm-hmm.
then I was thrust into living alone right at the start of the pandemic. Oh, it was really hard.
So
There was a lot of time for that introspection for sure.
yeah, I felt like I was ready going into like right out of my divorce because I had a lot of time to like process it before I even
Yeah.
left. So I felt like I was ready for love. I was open for love. What I actually needed in those first few encounters was just to hook up with people and have fun
And
because I put so much into these like shitty
that's
shitty
kind
dudes
of,
just because I was just wanted to hook
yeah,
up and that's all I
what
really
I
needed was
did
like
the first 4 years. It's only in the
mm-hmm.
last maybe year and a half, honestly, that I've tried to put more of a focus into the
Okay.
heart of it. And
So you mean by when you just felt like you were ready to date, you were ready to open like your heart to
yeah,
someone, but you had been seeing people. Okay, okay.
and like I thought that I could have that with this other person, and maybe we could, but he is just still not there yet. And I get it.
Well, I mean, from what you're saying, it sounds like you really wish it
I
was
do.
him.
I
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah.
And
And so that tells you that you're in the wrong relationship.
yeah.
It might be neither of them and someone else entirely. But if you are wishing it were someone else, then it's not the person you're with.
Especially how far you've come. I'll
Yeah.
say this, and I learned this quickly. It's like don't settle. You're
Yeah.
not. There's no reason to settle anymore because like it's you should have exactly what you want. And if you have to convince people to do it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And
Because
just, yeah.
ultimately you're not going to change someone. You're going to come to it being you, and they're going to come to it being them. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. It doesn't mean they're a bad person, or there's anything wrong with how they do things. It's just not working for you, and that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah. I mean, with the other person, again, I said it was a situationship. It was more than a situationship, but it was less than a relationship because he wasn't wanting to do that.
And he may never want to
Yeah,
do that.
but like
So that's something that you should accept.
his kids were all around. Like he's got 2 in college, one still in high school. I've known them all since they were little too. So I mean, it was never any issue, and there was a lot of consistency through the whole thing.
It might just be something that he doesn't want in the end.
Yeah. And some people, it might be something he doesn't want. Some people are not really
Yeah.
capable of it for
Mhm.
different
It
reasons.
might have potentially, continued on perfectly contently just the way that it was if when things didn't get hard for him or like hyper stressful for him, like when cause mode, and then I don't hear from him for a month and a half, and then all of a sudden he messages me and I'm seeing somebody else.
It sounds like he's making you an option.
Yes.
Because he knows if he messages you that he'll probably
Yes. Not a priority, but an option.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are many, many reasons why, everybody's busy. Who's
Yeah.
not busy?
Right.
If you if somebody's important to you, you're going to think about them. You're going to want to talk to them. So if he falls off when he's stressed out or when he's busy, then Christina is absolutely right. You're an option. You're there when he needs you.
Now, what's crazy is that could be 3-4 times a week, and plus plus at least one sleepover.
But then you can go months, right?
About maybe 6-8 weeks or so,
Yeah.
because
That's a
I
long
got
time.
stressed out. Like right before I started dating my boyfriend, he and I went to like a concert in the park, and his ex-wife was there. All of a sudden, after that concert, he didn't respond for like 3-4 weeks.
He is going to continue doing that. He's not going to do anything different. I mean, he's going to continue doing that. So you need to
I told him,
decide.
I'm like, when things get rough, like you literally all you had to do was say things are rough right now and talk to me about it, or say I need time. Like that was
But he wants to do things the way he wants to do them. He doesn't necessarily want to communicate that with you.
yeah.
He wants to spend time with you when it's convenient for him, when it works for
Mm-hmm.
him. And so you need to decide what works for you.
Oh, and what makes you happiest?
And it might be neither of these two people that you're describing.
It sounds like you're trying to accommodate both of them,
Yes.
like in fitting into what they need instead of what you need.
Right. So it might be that neither of them are right for you and you need to move on.
Yeah, it's hard to do. I know.
It is. It's really hard to do. Because they are.
But at the same time, when you're doing that, if one is not meeting your needs physically, intimately, and the other one is emotionally unavailable, what you're doing is really taking away the opportunity that you have to meet somebody that's good for you and is compatible with you in all the ways that you want them to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, by taking the time to put yourself into people that aren't the right fit for you, you're potentially missing the opportunity to meet a person who is the right fit.
And
Who
it's
does meet all your
exhausting.
needs.
Yeah. And you're trying to make sense of what's not working. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why he is the way he is, one or both of them. It just doesn't work for you, and that's okay.
I'm trying to just get past my anxiety to actually like have these difficult conversations.
Mm.
And that's my
tough.
and I feel like that is probably one of my biggest things.
I mean, you don't need to convince someone that it's not working
I
for
have
you.
to convince myself.
Well, that's another story.
It's hard.
It is
It's
hard.
so hard.
It is hard. But you've gone through other hard things. You will get through this as well.
Yes.
So hopefully that was helpful to you. And thank you for calling in. I was really excited someone was willing to do that because most people just wrote out stuff. So
Okay.
thank you for being.
Feels like a real show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Look at us.
It was a pleasure meeting you. I wish you the best of luck, and you'll get through it. You need to advocate for yourself first and
Absolutely.
foremost, and it will all work itself out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely. All right. Well,
Yeah, and then give me an update.
I definitely will.
No.
We'll
All right. Good luck.
like an update some other time for sure. It'll all get aired out at some point.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
All right. Have a good night.
You guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. There we go. Okay, that was an interesting situation. Like, I can see, like, especially for me, how easy it is to be like, let's not do this. But when you're actually in it, to leave it is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, she's trying to piecemeal her needs and get them met by different people. And as I said, there's no perfect person, but you
No.
have to decide what really works for you and what doesn't work.
Hmm.
And if, that physical connection is very important to you, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, and the other guy obviously is not interested in more and is not available emotionally.
I agree.
So that also is going to be a problem. So it sounds really like she needs to move on to finding somebody that's better suited for her overall.
I
or poly.
agree.
Date them both.
The Max is
Well,
into
I mean, that is an option if
Yeah.
that's what I don't know what she's into, but I guess.
I find
But
it funny. The singer, like rock bands, like the stereotype is rock. People in rock
Yeah.
bands.
I was a little surprised. I'm like, wait, the stereotype
I knew where
is.
she was going with the singing. I've heard.
well, I mean, and I think men don't talk about, as I said, that if it's an issue or if they're, God forbid, their sex drive is less than their girlfriends or wives, or they're never going to talk about that.
I feel like you just raised your eyebrows, but I feel like that's an issue with any guy dating someone in this stage of life because, like, I'm the same way. I'm like, I could go anytime.
It is there is something that happens to women when they turn 40.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, dating younger men is sometimes works for people,
Mm-hmm.
because at a certain age, your hormones shift and you become much more interested in ways that you never were in your entire life. So it's a strange dynamic where, a 45-year-old woman may feel like an 18-year-old boy
Mm-hmm.
feels. So,
And
and have that
and
kind of those kind of thoughts and desires. And so that's difficult, especially if you're dating older, which she seems to be, where there might be a decline in, that part of their lives where they're not as, interested in sex as often, or
Well, and I
yeah,
think the stereotype is that men are always interested in sex, and that's not true.
that's not true. It varies from person to person. Definitely, I mean, and it's difficult for men too, because it's not the same thing. Men have to perform, so they have to be able to function in that way, and
Mm-hmm.
your body changes. Health issues can affect it. Medication can affect your performance and ability. So there's a lot of factors there that contribute to that. And I think that a lot of men don't want to talk about that, or they're, feeling insecure about addressing some of these issues. So it's difficult. It's difficult. I think that it is a discussion you should have with somebody, especially if you trust them.
Oh yeah.
And you want to have that healthy um, experience with your partner, but it is difficult for men in a way that it's not for women.
But I think it's also important to talk about it, because if you keep
Yes.
hiding it, it's just going to get worse and worse.
Oh,
And then
absolutely.
if you both know what's going on, you can work with it. Like, and I feel like she probably, I mean, she might think she talked to him, but she's never really. I don't think she ever really sat down with him or actually had a real conversation. Because I mean, if he's in a relationship and he likes her, he's gonna do what he can to make her happy.
Well, and I think sometimes, here's the other thing. I think sometimes men don't realize that their sex drive has decreased, and they assume it's either stress or, they're tired or something else. And they don't recognize the fact that maybe it is hormonal, maybe it is lifestyle or their health that's affecting their desire or need for intimacy. So it is a good idea to have those discussions and think about it from that perspective. But the knee jerk reaction is, oh, I'm stressed, I'm tired, I'm just not into it. And that can create problems, as you saw with her and her
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend. So
Well, and I think, like, and Max can probably confirm this. I think there's a lot of times that women have conversations with men and they're not as direct as they could be, and they're not really having that conversation that they think they're having. You gotta be
Yes.
straightforward and be like, "Listen, this is what I need." If you hint around it, if you're subtle about it, they're not always gonna pick up what you're dropping.
This is true. Yes. Yeah. And then it ends up in a situation where the woman feels undesired
Mhm.
and
That's
the man
a
feels,
hit to your ego too, that's
yeah.
like yeah.
Especially if you come out of like a marriage that like was very not very sex driven.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people coming out of a divorce. Usually the last few years it just wasn't good, and so then you kind of maybe go back to that part of your life too.
Right.
Yeah. Do you wanna do one more? Do you have time for it or
Sure.
okay.
Yeah. Good.
So I'm gonna read it. I have paraphrased. I've shortened it a little bit just to make it a little bit more concise. But
Yeah.
this is from Jen. She's 40. The guy in her story is, I think, 33. She said. Just for some
Mm-hmm.
context here. But I did send Beyond the full thing, so you know
Yeah.
all the ins and outs. That some of it I'm leaving out. All right. It says, "Hi, I'm Jen. I work as a server at a restaurant, and well, I'm kind of a flirt. Okay, maybe a lot of one." I wrote, "Same girl, same." um, One of the guys at work started flirting back, and eventually he asked me for my number. I want to preface this entire situation by saying I wasn't even into him like that. He's not my type at all, but he has the best personality. The first night he called, we talked for 3.5 hours. We talked for 7, but whatever. He asked if I was looking for a relationship or just fun, and I told him just fun for now. He said he was looking for the same. Things were casual for the first month, but he said weird things like when I told him I didn't trust my car to drive far, he responded by saying he would just have to buy me a new car. And I mentioned how much I paid in rent, and he told me he had a place I could live, meaning his house. He would say one off things like this to me, while at the same time telling me how all these other girls at work would want him and how he should add them on social media. Our situation was supposed to be friends with benefits, but he treated me more like a fuck buddy. He would ghost me after every time we had sex. He would text me like 50 to 100 times a day, which is a lot, by the way.
So I have a quick question.
Sure.
So what's the difference between a fuck buddy and friends with
She's gonna
benefits?
she's gonna explain it.
Okay.
Okay. He would text me 50 to 100 times a day, but when we had sex, I wouldn't hear from him at all for 1 or 2 days. I told him wasn't what I wanted and had tried to end things with him. He ended up reeling me back in with a sob story about his son. So here's time one. She tried to leave. Things were going well for a little bit, but I found out he was sleeping with someone else when I saw that he was missing a condom. We weren't exclusive, so he could do whatever he wanted, but I was upset that he wasn't honest and upfront with me about it. I mean, I love this girl. I mean, I was putting his dick in my mouth, and it would have been nice to know where it had been.
We all have that thought, yeah.
Right. So I ended things with him and told him to leave me alone. And that was that. Except it wasn't. We stopped talking, but we do work together. So we see each other almost every weekend. 2 weeks went by, and I was scheduled to be in his bar. He is a bartender, and they only make the alcoholic drinks we ring in. I put in my first order, and it was for 2 Diet Cokes. I went to the bar to make them, and he told me he had already made them for me. Then he says, "See, I'm not always mean." That's when we started texting again. He wanted to talk about what happened and called me later that night. This is where it gets good. This guy, I'm telling you. He said the reason he treated me the way he did was because he got attached and didn't think I wanted anything like that to happen. He tells me he's attracted to me and would do anything I wanted to do.
Max shaking his head no.
He is smooth. He
Yeah.
is reel her in.
Well, he's a bartender.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
fair.
He's attracted to me. He would do anything I wanted to do. And then he told me he owes me the biggest apology, but didn't want to do it over the phone. And I fell for it, and we started talking again. Mind you, I still never got that apology, but I digress. You're never gonna get it. Um, the next month was so much better. I told him this was his final chance, and the next time he fucked up would be his last. He told me he understood and that he wanted me to be happy, that he wanted to be happy with me, and that he would communicate better this time around. For the next month, he gave me so much attention. He would call me every morning on his way to work. He would text me throughout the workday. He would call me almost every night on the way home, and then every night ended with a call or a FaceTime. He wanted to give me a key to his house. He told me he wanted to have another kid and asked me how I felt. Um, he asked me how I felt about this turning into something more, and I told him that's what I wanted. Then 4 days go by, and he ghosts me again. His texts and calls went from hundreds to a few. We made plans to hang out, so I go by his house and we do our thing. And on the way out, I asked him why he's been acting weird lately. All he said to me was, drive safe, and nothing else. At this
Ouch.
point, I'm fed up with the inconsistency, and I told him that I'm done. That was the last time we spoke to each other. But then shit hit the fan at work. He didn't want people to know that he didn't want people at work to know about us, but I told people that I trusted, and it got back to him that I was talking about him, and now he hates me. That I really paraphrased because that was a whole story, but um he made me feel completely worthless, but he also made me laugh and smile like no guy ever has. I feel like he's going through a lot. His wife cheated on him, something happened with his son, his father passed a few years ago, he lost a well paying job. But that's not an excuse to treat me the way he did. I'm hurt and depressed, and I feel guilty that things got spread around at work and got back to him. I honestly think he's a good person, but for some reason, he's not good to me. What do I do going forward? I would love to hear what you're going to say because I can tell you what I said.
I mean, I guess the question is, what do you do going forward with him or in general? I mean, what is that?
Because it's over, right?
Yeah, it's over. I mean, and I think it was over before it even began because the setup there, and I think this is where people make the mistake, they try to change things in the middle. Like, I'm okay with a friends with benefits for now, but then, he's cranking up the flirting by throwing these things like, oh, you can, just live with me, or you can do, and she's taking that to heart and
Mm-hmm.
changing the way she feels about him and developing feelings and then wanting more. And he's like, well, that's not really what I signed up for, kind of thing. And, possibly, I suppose it could happen, but I've seen this happen a lot in different situations where people start off with a relationship a certain way and then they change the rules and they're not in agreement on those changed rules, and it creates problems. So
Yeah.
it just wasn't a good fit. He didn't ask for a relationship to start. She didn't either. She developed feelings. He's saying he didn't want to develop feelings, which may or may not be true. We won't make, judgments on him.
Max,
But
shaking your head.
And plus, they work together, so that's
Yeah.
even a bigger one. And then at the end, she's like, we're done, we're done. And then she started making all these excuses for him. And that's
yeah,
the thing that popped up. Is like, no, just,
I found, I obviously don't know him. I just know the story. I saw a lot of kind of not love bombing without the love, but with the I would buy you a car. You can live with me. I want a future. I would love a future. I want kids, another kid someday. All this stuff that like he probably didn't
mhm.
actually mean any of it because he was probably doing it for the attention. He's probably doing it because he's like, oh, when I say this, she gets all warm and fuzzy towards me and like
drive safely.
drive safe.
Yes.
So I see from my perspective, and this is what I told her in the response to immediately after I read this, I'm like, he's a fuckboy. That's what I took away from it. He's a fuckboy. Like he's talking to other girls at the bar. He's like,
Yeah, because he doesn't want
mhm,
them to know. And
yeah,
that's when he got upset.
yeah.
Yes. Of course.
hmm I don't like this guy. Like, I know she's making excuses for him and that he's this great guy. Is he?
Well, but at the same time, I don't know that he's a bad guy either.
Right.
This is not the agreement he
That's
signed
true.
up for.
That's true. Yeah.
So she actually said that she would flirt with him by saying she didn't have a gag reflex,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
you're setting this up to start. You know that he's talking to other people. So it's not surprising that and you're saying I don't want anything serious. So the assumption there is that if he has the opportunity, he's going to sleep with other people
Yeah, I'm
because you
curious
haven't,
if there are guidelines there to the friends with benefits because like
yeah,
that's something
you
that
haven't established exclusivity
right.
necessarily, and if you haven't,
Mhm.
then I mean, I think that a lot of times, especially for women, the assumption is we don't have anything serious, but we're intimate. You don't need, why would you need to do that with someone else?
Right.
But I don't believe that that's how men feel about it. If they're just having a friends with benefits situation, even if it's not as friendly as she would like.
I think she caught feelings. Like
Of course she
absolutely.
did.
And
Yes.
I think that happens in most
Yes,
friends
of
with
course.
benefits. Like that's why they don't work a lot of times.
Yes.
But
But the other question I had about that too, were they actually friends before?
true. Like can you be friends with benefits if you're not actually friends to start with?
I'm not I don't know that I don't know about the friends with benefits period to start.
Mhm.
Because I think that that's just a lie you tell yourself because one person can't commit.
Mhm.
But if you like a person enough to be their friend and to sleep with them, I mean, come on.
Best of both
Stop. Can you
worlds.
stop smiling?
Best of both worlds.
I'm gonna edit that part.
He
Okay.
caught feelings for about a month, and then he went by.
Yeah. But the whole like he would just like
Well, it could be. It
peace
could be
out
that
after.
he liked her initially and then decided that it wasn't something he wanted to pursue, but
Mhm.
because there was this vague expectation, description of their connection that it just became strained and bad for her.
Right.
I think she also felt friends with benefits was just them, and when he hears it, he's like, no, it's with multiple people, and that's another thing too.
Well, I think
If
that's
you're
why you
not,
need boundaries. You need to be like, if we're gonna do this, I need to know if you're gonna be with someone else because we are being intimate together and I would like to be safe and have, this knowledge. But if that's not communicated, you can't assume that he knows what
Right.
your boundaries are if it's not discussed. And I don't know if that happened or not. So, but what would you say? How do you suggest she moves past this? Like what can she do to like let go and move forward?
run away.
You're asking Max or me?
No,
No,
you.
you.
You, not Max.
I think that she should think about what she truly wants out of a connection with someone
Mhm.
and make sure that she starts with that. Doesn't settle for something that's a filler. She said she was okay with friends with benefits, but ultimately she wasn't
Mhm.
because she developed feelings. And that's not surprising when you're spending time talking to someone at length, when you are getting to know them, when you're being intimate with them. That's what happens.
Right.
So if you don't want a friends with benefits situation, don't start there.
I agree. Yeah.
Again, I mean, with this situation, obviously, you're not going to change that, but hopefully they can move forward and work together in a way
Mhm.
that it doesn't impact either of them
And it sounds like
professionally.
she's able to work and not have to talk to him. She doesn't not in his area, but like that's tough. I mean, I don't know that I would ever date someone I worked with just because of that. Because like
Yeah, it is hard. It
sometimes you
definitely
need a
is
clean
hard.
break and you can't do that.
Well, and the fact that people know about it now too is going to create an awkward situation
Mhm.
where people are going to make judgments that aren't any of their business necessarily,
Right.
and so that's difficult. But it may just kind of die down, and
Right.
hopefully she can
Something
move
else is gonna
past it.
happen. I'm
Yeah,
sure there's always
yeah,
something
yeah,
going
yeah.
on. But I will say, Jen, you don't owe him anything. So you don't need to feel so bad about.
No,
Yeah,
no,
she feels so bad about this. And I'm like,
that was her experience, and
right.
that is how she experienced it. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that he had bad intentions necessarily.
Hmm.
It's just that that was her experience. It was negative with him because she started to develop feelings, and he was not consistent in his
Right.
communication or
And developing those
interaction
feelings
with her.
was valid, especially with what he was saying to her.
Yeah,
But like again, like you said, going into it, you had set these parameters that it's friends with benefits. So then
yeah.
it's like if you want something more that you need to communicate, like
Well, and a lot of
it's gonna be
times, like,
more.
really flirty people will say outlandish things to get people's attention.
Yes.
And so he wanted her attention, so he's going to
Hmm.
say whatever thing he thinks. I mean, whether he meant it or not, he could say he was kidding, and maybe he was.
Right. Believe
But at some
actions, not
point,
words.
yeah, yeah,
That's something, sure, yeah, he took it too far. But like,
yeah,
well, and people can say anything.
sure, absolutely, they can.
So hopefully, Jen, you find some peace with this and you're able to move on and move forward and get past this. But I mean, I don't think you owe him anything. I don't think
No,
you
certainly
need
not.
to feel bad about what happened with work. I think that was inevitable when you
Hmm.
get involved with someone at work. So I mean, he can be mad, but you didn't owe him anything.
Right, and it'll fade into the background. And when he flirts with you again, ignore him
Yes.
because he will.
Please, please. Because he will get over it at some point.
Yes.
So, yeah. But yeah,
That
that's
sounds
all.
that sounds messy.
It does sound messy.
Yeah.
Um, when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's all I got. So
All
thank you
right.
so much.
That was fun.
It
Yeah.
was fun.
Thank you for
So
having me again. I hope
yeah,
I helped. Uh, and they find what they need, and I think they will. It's just some of these situations suck and hurt,
hmm
and
dating's hard.
yes, it is. It
Hmm.
is. Well, it's great to see you guys
You
again.
You
too.
too.
All right, you guys have a good night. I'm gonna log off.
All right.
All
Have a
right.
good one.
Anything else for me? No. All
No, that's it.
right.
Thank you.
Have
Thank you
a good
so
night.
much. Good night.
Bye bye.
Bye. That was awesome. That was good, right?
That's a lot of stuff.
It was a lot. That's why I was like, let's keep the intro short because like we got a lot to fit in here. Um, I thought that last one was gonna be the longest one, and it wasn't.
That was
So
there was a lot going on. They never answered my question. So, what's the difference between a friend with benefits and a
I
fuck
thought
buddy?
it said okay. So so basically, friends with benefits is like I don't know. I think there's some form of relationship, like a friendship, where you're still talking and you're still communicating, you're
A
interacting
fuck
with each
buddy
other.
is like nothing.
A
You
fuck
just
buddy is
call up
just you're hooking up, and
and
that's
then
it.
leaving.
There, you don't need a chat. There's no relationship there. You're just there to hook up and then be like bye. And if you don't talk for days, it's like whatever. But that's not what
Hook
she wanted.
hook up, feed me. I'm gone.
Yeah, that's how it works with you, right?
Yeah,
Um,
ground and pound.
crowd and pound. That's how you went out of the last episode. I was laughing so hard at work listening back. So yeah, what do you think?
It was interesting. The Tory one. I could have talked to her for like an hour because there was so many things going on.
Hmm. I
Um,
feel bad for her because I know it's hard to have these
yeah, because she's in
conversations.
between. Like she said both. Like she said both of them are like the perfect boyfriend. And so if she's not, I'm like, if you're not in a rush, I mean, date them both.
I
Because
don't
you
know that her
never.
boyfriend is cool with that because she's in a
Well,
committed relationship.
the thing I got out of it is like, don't settle. Like you
Yeah.
can't settle.
Oh,
If you're in a
absolutely.
relationship and if something big is missing, then talk to them. And
Yeah.
it's tough for, especially, I think it's tough for guys to talk about, and maybe it's maybe he's just, maybe he just doesn't have a. I mean, he's just not that into sex, and
Hmm.
once a week's enough for him. Um, and maybe sometimes it's he might have a problem, but he's afraid to admit it. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
these
hard to
days
talk about.
I mean, you can take anything.
Hmm.
So
I think
maybe
for
maybe like, and again, I've experienced this too. It seems like the guy that doesn't want to ever have anything else but like intimate, like she's just gotta. It's gonna. He's always gonna be there. So
hmm
she would be even if she's in another relationship. That's when he's comes calling and messes with her. So
yeah,
she's either got to go all in on him or completely cut him out. This
I
half
think.
this half ass thing. Because I had that happen to me in a relationship. I think I thought I was the only one, but I think she was kind of like talking to other people, and
Hmm.
she was happy with me for a few months. I kept the seat warm, and then as soon as she wanted something else, she just threw me to the side and went
Yeah.
over and it happens.
Hmm.
It's
And I think he's being upfront about it because he doesn't want
yeah.
something, a commitment with her. But I think with this guy, he's just like, it's whenever it's convenient for him.
Watch a
And
YouTube video on how to go down on a girl and
oh
just do it.
yeah, that's not okay. I'm sorry. I make a face? I'm sure I did.
I knew exactly what she was gonna get at because I've heard that with like singers and stuff. What I've heard with singers is like after a show, they don't talk till the next show, and so they try not to use a lot of muscles. But I don't think like going down is using.
Yeah. Come
It's not like
on.
he's singing to her. Yeah,
Right. And
it's an
it's not like
excuse.
it's
He doesn't like
every
to.
day. If it
There's a
was like
whole
every day, 5 times a day, sure, you can use that as an excuse, but if it's like once a week, come on.
It's also so there's a big thing with Sopranos, right? Uncle Junior didn't go, would go down on a girl, and a lot of the mob guys would make fun of him because that's kind of like, oh, that's beneath them. And
Really?
some people feel that way. It's different
All she has to do is go
nationalities.
on dating apps. Every guy, it's their favorite thing to do. Every single guy. I love doing it. I do it all. It's my favorite thing. I'm so good at it. I'm the best. It's all I ever want to do. They all say that. All of them, including you. So like they all say
Yeah,
that. Sure.
but I would
I
tell
just
the
go on a
truth.
dating app because all guys say
Yeah,
that.
because I tell the truth. So
We won't go there right now. Um
I got nothing to hide, and my vocal cords are great. Yeah, stand up and shout.
we are
Dun, dun,
saving
dun,
some
dun,
things
dun, dun.
for another podcast because cannot get into that in the
Boom,
time we
boom,
have.
boom, boom. Stand up and shout. It's a great rock star, man. Even Mark Wahlberg went down.
Yeah, see, that's why I was shocked. I'm like, he's in a band and he doesn't want to have sex. Like, isn't that a thing, or is that a
Just ask the
stereotype?
Yeah, just ask the drummer. The drummer's
Hmm.
always the one with. Gotta watch out for those drummers.
Oh no, do you know who's a drummer?
I know, but I work with a guy in a band, and he's like, yeah, the drummers get all the chicks. It's a perception about everyone. Yeah, so
Oh, let's talk about this because we didn't do the intro. I got flowers today. I don't know who
I
sent
know,
me the flowers.
not me.
No, I asked many people, and like I asked my girlfriends because I'm like, oh, maybe it's them. Um, no one has fessed up. So if you're one of our listeners and you sent me flowers, can you tell me because I don't know. I don't know who sent me them, but they
It's
sent
where
them
you
to my
worked.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I don't think
I've
an
well, I've
avid listener.
I've talked to work about work before, so I think it's people know where I work because we've talked about it. But yeah, they got sent to my office.
But my whole point that we talked about was you sign your name because you want to get credit for it.
I mean, it says from and then nothing. What does it say? It says to. Hang on. The flowers are right here. Okay. It says to the most beautiful girl inside and out. I hope this makes you smile. From nothing. From who?
Blank
From blank.
space.
So if you sent me flowers, let me know. We'll give you a no dick pic sticker. I don't know.
I think they
Um.
want more than that.
Oh, Oh, I don't know because I don't know who it's from. Because like it sounded like it's like a from a dude, right? But it could also have been from a friend. My friends think I'm beautiful inside and out, but I guess the way it's phrased, it's the most beautiful girl inside and out. I hope this makes you smile. I don't know. Is that a friendly thing or is that a
Chicka chicka
male
bow bow.
suitor? And they're roses. I don't I don't know what this means. So
You
let me
got a
know.
secret admirer.
Apparently, but I want to know who they are. I guess that's not how a secret admirer works, huh? This has never happened to me, so I'm intrigued. Um, but if you want to own it, not you, Max, but if whoever sent
I'm
them
not.
wants to own it, um, please step forward and let me know. Anyway, next week we are back to normal stories. We are going to be back to a regular format where we have a guest come in and tell some dating stories. But we kind of went on a different.
What was the Dr. Drew had that show, right? That it was like a dating show or
What was it
something.
called?
I'm trying to think of because that's what I just thought of with like all four of us. It was pretty cool.
I know
I
I
like
liked
that.
it. I think we should try to do it. Like it's a little bit tricky because Biana's busy, but maybe once a month or once every couple months we could do a date therapy episode. Because Biana's amazing. She's got the best advice. And like we didn't continue this part, but like breaking up sucks. That was a hard thing to go through. Best thing to come of it was me and Biana are now good friends. And
You're
so
welcome.
like thanks for getting me any friend.
No time limit. There's
What do you mean no time limit?
for
On what?
breaking up. For breaking up.
Say more. What? No time limit for breaking up?
What we talked about earlier, that Jared's question.
Oh, no. Okay. For you, no, clearly. And it helped me because I made a friend. But did it work for you? Are you and Biana together? No.
No, I don't.
So,
I enjoy talking. So I think when I started talking to her, I didn't think anything would happen, but it was just fun to talk to it because we were talking about the podcast and stuff.
mhm.
She was listening, and it was pretty cool. So
Yeah. I love her. And it's funny because, like, I text her all the time now. And so we're good friends. And, um, that and you told me you're like now you can appreciate Taylor Swift's new album because that's when Tortured Poets Department came out. But I had just gone through a really shitty divorce, so like I already related to the songs. I didn't need help relating. But thank you for that.
good old Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
She's going down.
For the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be Eminem all about the D, the wrong
So
D.
making the prediction that the Super Bowl will be Kansas City and Detroit. So we'll see what
Oh, I don't
happens.
think so.
You don't
I
think so?
think I think it's gonna be Detroit and Buffalo.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think Buffalo's
Mm,
gonna shock the world.
okay.
Shock the world.
We'll see what happens because we have a few more to record and then we're going to be off for the whole month of December and then we'll come back in January. And so we'll be closer to knowing the answer to that at that point. So, yeah. All right. Well, this has been long, so we're gonna call
Yeah,
it.
that was
But
fun.
so please be sure to follow us on social media. Follow us on Instagram at no dpics pod, everywhere else at no dick pics pod. You can email us at no dickpicspod at gmail.com. If you want to join us for one of these episodes where we get to talk to Biana and you have some questions about a
Yeah, we can
relationship
get
you're in,
everyone on. It doesn't
yeah,
have to be Beyond. We can just have a bunch of people on talking and
true. And
stories.
we have if you want a male's perspective, we have a guy who wants to jump in and do something similar to what Biana's done. And so we can have a whole little panel and have a
Or if we
discussion.
do like a dating show,
I mean, what? Like
we
where
bring
we
a
match
male and a
people?
female. Yeah, it'd be like
Hmm.
that'd be kind of cool.
How does that we're gonna have to work
Yeah.
out the details on that because I don't know how that would work, but I like it. I like it. Maybe we should do like a bachelorette thing or like a where there's like three guys and the girl gets to pick or the three girls and
No,
the guy gets to
no
pick.
roses. All right.
I have a
That's
rose
stupid.
right there from
Yeah.
who knows who. But anyway, follow us on all those things.
What if
Follow
it's
us
your
on
boss
Facebook.
just fucking with you?
No, he said he wanted to take credit for it. He's like, I
Oh.
would take credit for this, but I'm going to end up in HR. He would not do that. That's not something he would do. He's very happily married. So
No, just to mess with you though.
he doesn't mess with people. He doesn't know how to do
Oh.
it. He's bad at that. I mess with him. He doesn't mess back. He doesn't know how to. He'd have to. I would need to help him. I would have to assist him in that too. So, yeah. Next week, back to normal episodes. We have a couple more to go, and then we're done for 2024. I can't believe it's November. By the way, like I can't believe we're almost done with the year. That's insane. I think when this comes out, I'm gonna release this on the 18th, so almost Thanksgiving. So happy almost Thanksgiving, guys. Be sure to follow us and rate and review. And that's all I got.
All right. Peace
Mhm.
out.
Bye. I gotta end this with another one of your ground and pound.
Oh, you want me to? I could have came up with something.
You got something? Here, this is your chance.
That's on the spot, huh?
Uh-huh.
I don't got anything. Let's see. Something will come to me. To be the man, you gotta beat the man.
What? Woo! Okay, bye.